Tolkien Lottery this time, but today I'm going to be reading the Bible's pages 7 to 9 because yesterday I read the Bible pages not 7 to 9. I think it was 4 to 6. So this time I'm reading the Bible pages 7 and 9. I'm sorry that I keep forgetting it. Anyways, this is the one I'm reading, just so that you all know. And if y'all like, there's specific reasons I like to do this because one of them is I like to spread the word about God, because I feel like others may not have what they need. It's okay, don't worry. And I'm going to be reading the pages 7 to 9. So, I don't know if you all read a Bible, but I'm going to be doing those pages. I'm going to get started now. And it came to pass when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch that passed between those pieces. On the same day, the Lord made a convenient. Oh, that's cool. With Abram, saying, "To your descendants, I have given the land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river of." Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that. Sorry, I lost where I was at. Euphrates, I think that's how you pronounce it. The Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, I think that's how you pronounce it, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Kenites, the Girhazites or something like that, and the Jebusites. And now Sarai, Abram's wife, and born with him no children, and she had an Egyptian maid servant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "See now the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Go in to my maid, perhaps I shall obtain children from her." And Abram heeded the voice of Sarai, and then Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram, to be his wife. After Abram dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, so went in to Hagar, she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abram, "My wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The Lord is judge between you and me." So Abram said to Sarai, "Indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please." And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, and by the spring of on the way to Shur, and he said, "Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai." The angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress." and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He shall dwell in the presence of his brethren. Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, Have I also here seen him who sees me? Therefore the well cared well therefore the well was called Bir Lahai Roy. Observe it is between Kadesh and Beard. Beard, I think that's how you pronounce it. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my convenient, I think that's how you say it, between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. No longer you, and you shall. Wait, no, I already read that one. I'm sorry. Okay, I think I found it. Shall your name be Abram? Well, shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you, and I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you in their generations for everlasting covenant to be God to you and your descendants after you. I give to you your descendants after you you the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male child in your generations who is born in your house or vault with money from any foreigner who is not your descendant, he who is born in your house and who is bought with your money must be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. I'm gonna quickly blow my nose because it's a little runny right now. So I'll return real quick. I won't be that long though. I'll try to be quick. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My nose started to run and I need to blow my nose real quick, so yeah. Anyways. I think I was okay, never mind. And the Junker circumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Then God said to Abraham, as Sarai your wife, you shall not be called her name Sarai. Well, sorry, yeah. But Sarah shall be her name, and I will bless her, and also give you a son by her. Then I will bless her, and she shall be she shall be a mother of nations, kings of people shall be from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. Then God said, no, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him, and for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will establish Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. Then he finished talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. So Abraham took Ishmael his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins. That very same day, as God had said to him, Abraham was 99 years old, and when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the circumcised. Okay, 1 second. When he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very same date, Abraham was circumcised, and his son Ishmael, and all the men of his house born in the house or bought with money from a foreigner were circumcised with him. Then the Lord appeared to him by the terebinth, I think that is how you pronounce it, trees of Mamre, as he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, there 3 men were standing by him, and when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground and said, my Lord, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree, and I will bring a morsel of bread that you may refresh your hearts after you pass by. Inasmuch as you have come to your servant. They said, do as you have said. So Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah and said, quickly make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. So Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender of good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hastened, I think that's how you say it, to prepare it. So he took butter and milk in the calf which he had prepared, and set before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? So he said, here in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? Now we are going to page 8. I'm going to have it like this. Now, and the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it. Well, Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like slow at reading, and I get my words very mixed up, and sometimes I lose where I'm at. Anyways, then the men rose from there and looked forward. Sodom and Abraham went with them to see them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham? What am I doing? Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord, and to do righteous and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And the Lord said, Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether to the outcry against, if it has come to me, and if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went forward toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, Would you also destroy the righteousness with the wicked? I'm sorry. Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Fair be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as wicked as the wicked. For 1 second. Okay. Far be it from you, shall not the judge of all the earth do it right? So the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Then Abraham answered and said, Indeed now, I who am but the dust of ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all of the city for the lack of 5? So he said, If I did find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again, Suppose there be 40 found there. So he said, I will not do it for the sake of the 40. Then he said, Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Indeed, now I have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. So the Lord went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face forward to the ground. And he said, Hear now, my lords, please turn in your servant's house and spend the night. And please please wash your feet, then you may rise early and go on your way. And they said, No, but we will spend the night in the open square. But he insisted strongly that, so they turned into him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast and baked them unleavened bread, I think it's how you pronounce it, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter surrounding the house, and they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him, and said, Please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. See now, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. Then they said, This one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we deal with worse with you than them. They have pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so they became weary trying to find the door. I'm gonna quickly get some water because anyways, I'll continue where we was. Then the men said to Lot, Have you anyone else here? Son-in-laws, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, take them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because the outcry against them has grown great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters, and said, Get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But to his sons-in-law he seemed to be joking. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, Arise, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his two daughters, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. So it came to pass, when they had brought them outside, that he said, Escape from your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. Then Lot said to them, Please, no, my lords. Indeed, Now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil overtake me and I die. So now the city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one, so please let me be safe there. It not a little one, and my soul shall live. And he said to him, see how I have favored you concerning this thing also, and that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth, and when Lot entered Zoar, then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. So he out overthrew those cities all in the plain, all the inhabitants, I think, or inhabitant, well, yeah, inhabitants, I think that is, of the cities and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, not back at him, and she said, well, she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early to the to the morning, to the place where he stood before the Lord. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he saw, behold, the smoke of the land which went up like smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed all the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Then Lot went out to Zoar. I'm sorry, I got it a little bit confused. Anyways, I'll restart that sentence real quick. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains of his two daughters, where with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the custom of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with their father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. It happened on the next day, when the firstborn said to the younger, indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Then they made their father drink wine that night also. And then the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Now we are going to page 9. I'm going to quickly blow my nose again because it's running again. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Anyways, if you hear dogs barking in the background or anything, Please ignore that because it's like my neighbor's dogs and it's like my other dogs too. Anyways, we're on page 9, and after that maybe we could like do questions and stuff. Would you all like to do questions after this? Because if so, then that would be okay. Anyways, I'll start. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab, and well, he is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son who and called his name Ben Ami. He is the father of people of Ammon to this day. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said to Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, indeed, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is the man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, will you slay the righteous nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this. And God said to him in a dream, yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So Abimelech, I'm sorry, that's kind of like a long word. Okay, I found where I was. Rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things in their hearing, and the men were very much afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? How have I offended you, and that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that ought to be done. Well, ought not to be done. I'm sorry. I got like a little bit confused. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, what did you have in view that you have done this thing? 1 second. Okay. Anyways, where was that? Okay, I found where I was. And Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me on the account of my wife. Indeed, she truly is my sister. She is truly my sister. I'm sorry, I got that completely confused. She is the daughter of my father, and not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, this is your kindness that you should do for me. In every place wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah, his wife, to him. And Abimelech said, See, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you. Then Sarah said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you, and before everybody. Thus she was rebuked. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants, and they bore children, for the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. And the Lord visited Sarah as he said to the Lord, did for Sarah, did for Sarah as he had spoken, for Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. Then Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Now Abraham was 100 years old, and his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me. She also said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children, for I have borne him a son at his old age. So the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, scoffing. Therefore she said to Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be here with my son, namely Isaac. And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, Do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad, or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, and putting it on her shoulder, he gave it to the boy, to Hagar, and sent her away. Then she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, and the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down across from him at a distance of a bow shot, for she said to herself, Let me not see the death of the boy. So she sat opposite him, and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Then the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, What ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water, and she gave the lad a drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Pichul, I think that's how you say it, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me by God that you will not deal will not deal falsely with me, with my offspring, or with my posterity. I'm sorry, I don't really know if I'm saying it right. But that according to the kindness that I have done to you, you will do to me and to the land in which you have dwelt. And Abraham said, I will swear. Then Abraham rebuked Abimelech because of the well of water which Abimelech's servant has seized. And Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this thing. You did not tell me, nor I have heard it of until today. So Abraham took a sheep and oxen and gave to them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a convenience to Abraham, set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Then Abimelech asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, you will take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, and they may be my witness that I have dug this well. Therefore he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a convenient at Beersheba. So Abimelech rose with Pichul, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree of Beersheba and called upon the name of the Lord, the everlasting Lord, and Abraham stayed in the land of Philistines many days. Now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham, said to him, Abraham. And he said, here I am. And then he said, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey, and 2 of his young men went with him, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for burnt offering, and arose and went to the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted his eyes and saw that the place afar off, and Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey, the lad, and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you. So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire of his hand and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. But Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. Then he said, look, the fire and the wood, but there is the lamb for a burnt offering. Anyways, that's all right now, because that was page 9, and then tomorrow we'll do page 10 to 13. So I'm getting into the live now. Hope you all have an amazing day or night. Goodbye.